Hey guys, so today what we're going to be looking at is who is going to be dethroning each current WWE champion. Now, about a month ago, I did look over each current champion, but since it's changed multiple times, so I thought I may as well do another video, but slightly different. So this is each person that the respective title holders will drop their belts / cup to. Now, this is in reverse order from what is presented on WWE.com, from bottom to top, right to left. First up, in NXT, we have the current Heritage Cup champion, as of the making of this video, on Monday, October 16th, at 5:05 p.m., Noam Dar. Now, the way this storyline's been building up, he technically lost it to Nathan Frazer a couple weeks back, but then won it back from him at NXT's Heatwave event. Now, he didn't get pinned to lose it. His Metaphor teammate, Oro Mensah, actually lost the thing for him because he was... Sorry about that. He was injured. But because of the way the storyline's building up, I do think it will be Nathan Frazer who wins the cup from him and becomes the new Heritage Cup champion. Next up, we have the NXT Tag Team Champions, the family, Tony D'Angelo and Channing Stacks Lorenzo, man. These two have had a pretty fun run on NXT so far. Their tag team reign started a couple months now, I believe, at Heatwave. I think it was Heatwave, yeah. And they've had an interesting title run. They were, injured at No Mercy, and then, they defended it in weird ways. But overall, it's been a pretty solid run and a pretty fun one at that. But I think the team to beat them will be heels. Most of these are switching the demeanor of the holder of the title. The heel team of formerly known as, because they've stopped using this name now, Los Lotharios, Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza. I couldn't find them a tag team picture, so I just put their two singles pictures together. These two have definitely reinvented their characters almost completely now on NXT. They're more vicious, they're more violent, they're way cooler than they were on the main roster, and I'm happy to see them, and hopefully they'll become the new NXT Tag Team Champions. All right, next up, we have something that makes him better than his father, the North American Champion, Dominic Mysterio, because he's the champion of all North America, and Rey is just the champion of tiny little United States right there. But all jokes aside, Dom has had technically two different runs. The first one, astounding. This one so far, I don't know. He lost it and then won it immediately back. So it wasn't really a big, he lost the belt, whoa, kind of an event. But cool nonetheless to have him with two different runs with the belt. But I do think he will eventually drop it to the man that he already has dropped it to, Trick Williams. Now, Trick has, over the past few months, improved in many magnitudes. His promos, those were already good in the first place. His in-ring work by a wide margin. His storytelling, his facial expressions, his selling, everything is so much better than it was just a couple months ago. So I think he should, and he deserves it. He has earned it, definitely, with his work with Carmelo Hayes, etc. And I believe he should be the new North American Champion. Next up, we have something that I think is a little stupid. I didn't mention it on this one, but we have Becky Lynch, NXT Women's Champion. I will attempt to have women's on this side, men's on this side. And I don't like main roster people coming down and taking the titles. It's bad when they win the title, and it's good when they drop it, because it's good because they're most likely letting a younger talent get a big win, beating this legend, because it's normally like legends are really high-class people. Even Baron Corbin counts. He's a King of the Ring winner, he's Money in the Bank winner, he's the only person to have done just both of those things. So I think it's pretty easily arguable that he has done pretty well for himself. Back to Becky. I think that beating Tiffany Stratton for it was an interesting decision. They really wanted to do it to spike the NXT ratings, and because they wanted to make Becky a Grand Slam champion. But I do think the person she beat, Tiffany, will be the one to win it back, and I think Tiffany Stratton will be your second time. I think, yeah, this makes it her second time as the NXT Women's Champion. Hopefully, this reign is better, longer, and more impactful than the first. Next up, we have one of the most talented people on the entire roster, main roster included, Ilya Dragunov. Obviously, a very talented feller. He is the first man to hold the NXT and NXT UK titles as a European. And that's something that is kind of cool, honestly. Now, there are obviously people who could do that, like Tyler Bate, Gunther, Walter. But he's shown a lot of... He's really good. He's really good. Now, it's going to take a while, but I think the guy to dethrone him is somebody who's really shown his colors in NXT and shown how good he can actually be when he's not in bad situations. And that's going to be Dijak, T-Bar, something like that. He has multiple names: Dominic Dijakovic, Dijak, T-Bar. He has a lot of names. But this man, he had a match with Wesley a couple months ago, and it was a banger. In the middle of the match, he snapped his finger, like, completely, like, full on. Before, his finger looked like this, and then it went, pretend this is his finger. That was his finger. And he finished the match. He's a very resilient fellow, and to be honest, I couldn't really find anybody else who could do it. But I think he deserves it. As you might have noticed, I have transitioned from my grandparents' house to my actual house. I was interrupted in the original recording and did not finish, so I'm just continuing on from here. Next up, we have the Women's Tag Team Champions, Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. This is a title that I honestly couldn't... I have no real reason why this is, like, a belt, honestly. It's never ever used for, like, anything. You know, tonight, a couple minutes ago, actually, Piper Niven had a match with Natalia. I don't know if it's happened yet, but it was announced. And that's cool. But it doesn't matter. Because nobody cares about the belts. On Cage Match, they're a 3.68 out of 10. But they're one of the longer reigning champions on the roster right now. Like, I don't know. I do not know what to say about it. But I really could only think of one team, so Kaden Carter and Katana Chance. Why not? They're like the only women's tag team in the entire company right now. Give them the belts. Go ahead. I don't even know anymore. Next up, we have the undisputed WWE Tag Team titles, currently held by Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso, who just beat the Judgment Day. These guys have held the title for like 10 days at this point, and there's no real development to this storyline. But now that those two have the titles, and it's not necessarily into a Judgment Day cycle, per se, I believe that it's reasonable they drop it to an actual tag team, that being Imperium. I think that Ludwig and Giovanni really they don't have anything to do, so they just lose unless they're in a match alongside Gunther. Even then, they sometimes lose. So these are really the only guys who make sense to get the titles from Cody and Jey, and I think they definitely deserve it. Next up, we have the United States Championship, currently held by Rey Mysterio. Now, This is a bit of an interesting one. It's been a little controversial, but if you watched his boxing match, he called Ray out. And I think he'll beat him for this U.S. title at Crown Jewel. Logan Paul, I think, is going to be the next United States champion. Now, do I want it? Yes, I do. I think that Logan Paul, he is incredibly talented in the sense that he can put on banger matches with like such little experience. If you think about it, like he's had like 5 matches, Royal Rumbles excluded, and the man is amazing. He has had a total of 7 matches. One of them was a Rumble, and one of them was a Money in the Bank. So he's had the tag team match at WrestleMania 38, the match against The Miz at SummerSlam, versus Roman at Crown Jewel, versus Seth at WrestleMania, and then versus Ricochet at SummerSlam. Like, that's it, excluding the Rumble and Money in the Bank. And even then, he performed amazingly for being, not a wrestler. So I think he deserves it, and I think he will win it. Next up, we have a pretty big one, the Intercontinental Championship. Now, over the past couple weeks, this has been kind of controversial because of how he's been booked. But I think that he deserves it now. Chatty Daddy, Chad Gable, I believe, will be the one to dethrone the ring general, Gunther. Now, the way that he's been booked, as I said, it's kind of been disappointing. He's been booked very poorly. He's been losing most of his matches. But it's hopefully a common angle that you'll see where, a guy gets super close to winning a title, and he goes on a big losing streak. And then he works his way back up and eventually wins the title from whoever's holding it, normally the same person. All right, next up we have the Women's World Champion, Rhea Ripley. This is a title reign that has been utterly disappointing. Realistically, it has been a very disappointing. It's been very disappointing. I am not a fan at all. I think that she's not really. She's not made the title feel good. Like, cool. She's the champion. Whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. Because she doesn't defend the thing. Now, yeah, she defends it at super shows and, like, house shows. It doesn't matter. Event type. Broadcasted shows. Submit. Since WrestleMania, we have seen a grand total of, that's 38, Survivor Series, Rumble, Elimination Chamber, 39. So she has had 13 televised matches. One of them wasn't a title defense. One of them wasn't even for the title. It's been a disappointing run, but I do think, because it's so long, the newbie, Jade Cargill, will be the one to end this reign. I think they want to show that, hey, AEW stars, if you come to WWE, we will give you this title. I expect it also to be at WrestleMania 40. Next up, we have Io Sky, the women's undisputed champion. Undisputed WWE Women's Champion. And this reign has been weird. It's been good. It's been very good, but weird in the sense that there's nobody that's really challenged her that you think, oh yeah, she's going to lose 100%. Like, Flair, you can never count out, as I mentioned in my Fastlane video, but, like, whatever. Nothing major. But in the same sense as the Jade Cargill one, I think it'll be Kairi Sane who will defeat her, also probably at WrestleMania or somewhere around then, like Elimination Chamber. I think, again, this is, hey, come to WWE. We will give you big belts if you're good. Right, next up, we have Seth freaking Rollins, the World Heavyweight Champion. Seth has had a whatever run. It's been solid, a couple decent title offenses here and there, but nothing really nothing that stands out. And I think he will drop the title at the next pay-per-view. Crown Jewel to my boy, D. McIntyre. Let's go. Drew McIntyre. Or Big D, as he called himself on that one episode of Raw. Great name, by the way. And Drew, he deserves it, especially when I really hope he turns heel to win this. I don't want to see a face champion, Drew. Heel champions are better anyways. Excuse me. And the man, for all he's done, needs way more title reigns than he has. And last, but certainly not least, the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns. Now, this one, it's a little controversial. Multiple different people have been able to, put in their inputs who they actually think will do it. Now, I would love to see it be LA Knight, probably at Crown Jewel, but it's realistically not going to happen. And the predictable answer, Cody Rhodes, is who I believe will defeat him. I don't really have to explain this one. Finish the story. It took him 3 WrestleManias if he does it at the next one. Way too long story. Way too long term. I like my long term storytelling, but every storyline does not need to be 80,584 months long. So, that's the video. Do you agree with my picks? Do you think it should be Akira Tozawa to defeat Roman? If so, I actually agree with you for once. Have a good day, good evening, good night, good morning, good dawn, good dusk, good whatever, and goodbye.